This is Van Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Don Rodriguez for the first time. And we're going to talk about how your new record label lets artists own their master. And that's kind of a big deal with artists. I'm an artist myself, so this is going to be a cool episode to talk about what's going on in the music industry and why you created your own label. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Phantom. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. So my name is Don Rodriguez. I would call myself a new musician, although, my backstory is certainly not a new musician, but I've gotten into the music business fairly recently, within the last 10 years, I'd say. And the last 5 of those years, I've had this studio here that I've used in the beginning as my own personal jam session studio. And then when my kids were taking music lessons, we ended up using a rehearsal studio in Vegas with their instructor. And we drove into Vegas. We're just outside. We're a bedroom community just outside Vegas. So we went into Vegas proper, and I really wasn't thrilled with the conditions that we were bringing our kids to, these rehearsal studios in Vegas. I'm not sure where you're at, but if you know rehearsal studios, they tend to be in industrious parts of town, and the equipment's not that great. And here we are bringing a bunch of kids in there for these guitar recitals. So I said, you know what? I told the guitar instructor, we're going to take, my jam session garage studio. This is a commercial space, by the way. And we're going to, fix it up for recitals. And then I just started working on that, and I brought in stages, and then we carpeted the whole thing. And then we started building sound baffles and started rehearsing in here. And then in the last year, I outfitted the studio for actual sound recording. I would say before, when I first opened the studio to the public, we were a rehearsal studio that recorded, and everyone appreciated that. But now, like I said, in the last 6 months, I've rewired everything, new equipment. And there's a difference when you're rehearsing and recording your rehearsal versus you're recording to produce tracks and masters. And so I revamped the studio for that. And we have a sound booth, a sizable one that we conduct podcasts with our artists. And we have a content creator studio here as well, just on the other side of that logo that's behind me. Is a dance studio and a creator studio. And we do our interviews in there with our artists. Yeah. Cool. And then right here, what you're looking at in the background, you can catch a little bit of it. I have this tower speakers kind of in the way, but that's our sound stage where we perform. In this studio, we get a live sound. We don't have a whole lot of electronics. We play those old heavy things called instruments. We're proud of it. So
you're not doing it for like the DAW type of people, right?
Well, we have DAWs. I mean, it's kind of a mix of both.
Well, maybe the DJ type people, maybe is what I meant.
We don't do a whole lot of the DJ thing. I have a synth pad here, and I have an Akai M225, and I'll break that out and bring in some instruments in that. But I'll be honest with you, I haven't used these things on my desk in well over a year,
even longer than like traditional months. like rock bands or their bands.
Yeah, so we have full drum kit up on the stage, and it's all mic'd. We have overhead mics, we have vocal mics, and then we have a Nord Stage 4 keyboard, congas, bass guitars, amps. The traditional studio that you would find maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah, for this is the interesting thing for me is the way the world has changed. Like the DJs and I'm an electronic musician, but like I'm not like MPC. I'm a Moog, Roland, Juno, Eurorack guy. I'm like hands on, right? I'm actually playing with analog synths to have to warm up and stuff. But the idea is like I'm playing it more like Joy Division or New Order, like doing it that way instead of being somebody that's like, oh, I'm just taking a bunch of stems and ripping them apart and moving them around on a bar. Like, no, I'm actually playing it. Which like you got bands that are actually playing real drums, right? Real bass guitars.
Yes.
Keyboardists really playing keyboards.
Yeah, we have real keyboards, real bassists, real guitarists, real vocalists. I mean, clearly, obviously, real vocalists, but we don't do any pitch adjustments. We don't have any modulation in our system
Auto
where
tune guys.
we're not gonna auto tune. To be honest with you, the few times that I've played with it, I've never gotten it to sound where I didn't know that it was auto tuned, and maybe that's just me as the producer, and everyone else would say I don't know what you're talking about, Don, but I do, and that's all I care about. So,
Yeah.
as any producer, any good producer, I would expect to tell you if they're not happy with it, they're just not going to release it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not putting that out there. So we
Yeah,
don't use that stuff.
if I'm playing with a vocoder, I'm playing with like a Moog vocoder.
Right, right.
Like I'm playing like a Giorgio Moroder, like that type of vocoding. Like you going back, using like a real like a Roland VC like 303.
Oh, sure, sure.
Like,
And we do all that stuff. You know, that lends itself to modern music. But you know what's interesting is that for most independent artists today, the struggle when you and I were young was making music, right? We
yeah,
didn't have the resources to get into a recording studio and make a record. That
yeah,
was just unattainable. Now the industry has completely switched and done a 180, and it's created a different problem. So now the hard part is not making music. Anyone can make music. You're making music right there behind you, and everyone does. And lots of people I know have home studios, and that is great. The more music, the better. I believe music heals the soul of the earth. So more music, the better. But sorry, I lost my train of thought. What I was going to say is that the problem nowadays is not making music. Making music is the easy part. The problem nowadays is being heard. There's 10,000 songs uploaded to Spotify a day. That's 1,000,000 songs every 10 days. And in order to filter through, all of this noise and get your music heard, you have to navigate through a system. And I believe I've mapped that system and figured out, what the big labels do. And then so what I've done in the last year, this entire year preparing, is turned this studio not only into a recording studio, but also a record label and a publishing company, because if you don't have all the parts, you cannot properly monetize your music.
Yeah, I think the big issue today is the oversaturation. And then, like really the listener today, unless you're into indie music, I've always been an indie guy. Like I always listen to SST, IRS, Sub Pop. I was
Mm-hmm.
always geared toward listening to Nirvana before they were big, right? Listening to
Sure.
Hoochie Doo, listen to Black Flag, listen to all these older bands, right? REM before they were big. I'm a child of the '70s. I'm 58, so I loved listening to like indie radio, and I was an album guy. I like to listen to full albums
Yes.
and in vinyl, and so a lot of times this way the world is today, people just listen to this playlisted thing. Somebody goes on, blows up on TikTok, they get one song, they get playlisted, they get onto all these playlists, but do they even know who they are?
Well, and even getting that one song and making it go viral, that's the equivalent of hitting the lottery. The playlists that people listen to, the vast majority of what the public is consuming, is dictated by the big record labels, to Spotify, to iHeartRadio, to Pandora, to iTunes. And I'm not going to say that it's fine, but it's not easy to just come in and change the system. So my little cog in the gears that are going to change the system is that I provide a recording studio, a record label, and a music publisher for independent artists that would like to optimize their chances of being heard. Because if all we're going to do is record our music, and I've done the same exact thing, I'm not preaching anything I haven't done. If all we're going to do is record our music and upload it and tell our friends, hey, go listen to it and do this thing, it really doesn't go anywhere. And you're always going to be this starving artist trying to get your music heard. And what I figured out is the same thing that Dr. Dre figured out in the 80s with Death Row Records, was that instead of saying, okay, let's just defeat the system or do this, he just navigated through the system. What do you need to do? Well, your chances are much more higher if you're under a record label. Well, why is that? You know, and it's not a debate with independent artists. And sometimes I feel like I'm debating them because they want to cling to something that's pure. I'm not trying to take that away. I'm simply saying that the industry has established a standard 60 years ago. We're not in control of it. And I would like to navigate you through what that system is. The first one is the label, right? The system wants you to have a label. And I'll tell you why. It's pretty plain and clear, especially nowadays with the saturation that you're talking about. A label tells the industry, tells BMI, right? Your PRO, that other music professionals have invested their time and energy in your music. And one thing the general public overlooks, or maybe they just don't know and they just assume things, is that high quality music professionals will work with you just because you have the money. No truer statement is out there. High quality sound engineers, mixers, vocalists, instrumentalists, studio percussionists. These high quality people, they're so good. They've worked with so many artists. They don't really need to work with this independent artist because you really believe your music is that awesome. It doesn't work that way. They're usually, when you have these high quality individuals, they're associated with the label. And when you're with that label, it says that someone other than your grandma has decided your music is good and worth investing in. And when you have these 10,000 songs uploaded every day, so long as BMI, and we'll say Spotify, we won't call out BMI, they're just the PRO, they're doing their job. But so long as Spotify thinks that there's a chance that your grandma funded your record and this is some 12-year-old girl singing her rendition of a Wicked song, then there's nothing differentiated you with the other 999,000 songs that are uploaded tomorrow, right? So the label is the first step of separating you from that big crowd and saying, here's some music that other music professionals believe in. The other part is publishing. If you don't have your publishing in order, you're not going to get long-term success, long-term money with your music. I don't have the visuals to go into it, but it's much like the stock market. Singles work like a day trading. You're day trading, you release your single, it makes some money, it charts maybe, you reach number 15 on the charts or something, then eventually it dies off. This is your day trading. Your publishing is the composition and who controls the music that can be made with your composition. That is your long-term money. That is like your S&P 500, your safe stocks, right? The things you want to buy, your CDs and your safe U.S. stocks. I'm not a stock guy, forgive me, but that's your long-term money. Publishing is going to make you money over the next 100 years while you have a copyright for that song while it's in place. And so the system was developed by the record label literally to keep the small guys out, but it was done, 100 years ago, not that long ago. Mid-60s, early 50s, I would say in that range is when they really decided 10 songs on an album would be the minimum. You're a kid of the 70s, same, I'm 50 years old, so just a little younger than you. But that was, like we were just saying, it was unattainable for us to go into a record studio and make 10 songs. And if you look at the entire entertainment industry, you'll see that this happens. 10 episodes minimum per season. 20 is better. If you get 10 seasons in Hollywood and television, guaranteed you're going to get syndication, right? Yeah. This is what we're talking about. This is the language of publishing. And most artists, it's really over their head. They don't understand how publishing works. That's fine. I don't need you to know how to make the hot dogs. Contact me and I'll help you make the hot dogs.
That's how you get your sync licensing. Because if you get your song registered with your pro, you're on BMI, you register the song. Somebody goes and does your song and they perform it.
Yes,
they're going to track that, and you're going to get paid.
Yes,
I get paid through BMI for my stuff because I register.
Yes,
the way I do it. So I mean, I've always registered my songs, and I kind of run independent because I know enough. Because my brother's a lawyer and. My day job, I'm a software guy, so I can afford to buy my Moog, and I'm not a starving artist.
Yeah, and
like 6 figures already. But
And
the
you've done
idea
the
is I just want to do
research,
what I want.
and you've clearly done the research behind how you optimize your chances for success with music and monetizing your music, right? It's not hard, but a lot of artists I see young artists every night going on TikTok and playing their songs. They're not copywritten. They're just performing. I'm like, what are you? That's a
Yeah,
great
yeah. Put me
song. What
out
are
of
you
the world
doing?
with Did you not read that the AI contract on TikTok and AI
100%. What are you
contract
doing? What are
on
you
Instagram?
doing?
Not that they've got that, and if you opted in to have your ID, they're gonna if you didn't go and register your song,
Exactly.
you're not gonna get any money
Right.
when it gets played. If somebody plays it on YouTube or plays it on any of the other channels, right? Wherever it is, like if you don't register and somebody's using it or some gamer uses it on Twitch, it's like I
Yes.
made an agreement with BMI with Twitch, and my stuff gets streamed. If a streamer uses it, I get paid.
Yes.
But you have to know that. Like, and a lot of
Yes.
artists is like, oh, I just want to do the work. It's like that's nice, you want to do the work, but you'd be like those old blues guys that Keith Richards had to help get their health care, because they would have signed in any contract they got just to
Yes.
pay the bills.
Yes, I often ask artists, did you link your bank account anywhere? Oh, yeah, I linked my debit card to DistroKid. No, no, no. That's how they're collecting from you. Did you link your bank account incoming to anything at all? No, not at all. Okay, well, then how are you going to get paid?
Yeah,
There's registration, there are steps, and we walk them through it. And one of the things that I created in my label, because there's so many independent artists who have released their music, and a lot of them have also gotten their SR copyrights, the sound recording copyrights, right? There's two types of copyrights to all music. And so they're like, hey, I got my copyrights. But I don't have publishing. What do I do now? I've also created a publishing only contract, right? So if you're in that case where, hey, I already released an album, how do I get it scored? How do I get the sheet music? How do we record our published work copyright? And how do I get it out there to others distribution houses? I've already got 3 records. I mean, a lot of artists I know are already building music catalogs, but they have no distribution method. So that's one of the things. That's another part that I mapped, and I help artists through that process.
Well, I think that's the big problem is like once the record industry kind of imploded and nobody was getting their A&R, they're not getting their nobody's going in, like Motown, they used to go and teach their artists like how to present themselves on the road.
Right.
They had to go through the etiquette and show them how to do moves, how to dress, how to do it. It was like a school, and you got Smokey, you got the Funk Brothers, you got all those guys in there, and everybody was like passing songs around, like which group's gonna get it. But like, there's something about if you can get on a label, if the labels still do that, it sounds like you're trying to bring back some of that magic.
Well, it's not
why you want to be on a label.
Well, it's not that. Again, it's the system. It's ASCAP, BMI, and Sound Exchange, right? When you register your music and you upload it under a label, it goes into a completely different pot of music. Mm-hmm. And labels usually have publishing. So when you click yes, we have publishing. Yes, we have our compositions, and we have our published work copyright, creative work copyright. Now you're just in a different ball game. I'm not trying to twist anybody's arm. I'm just telling you what the system is and how they separate me, who's trying to create good music with instruments, from anybody else. I mean, I'm not trying to dog anyone's music. Everyone's entitled to play, but what I'm trying to do is get artists heard. That's why go to our website. The first thing you say is be heard. That is today's challenge in music. Not making music. Everyone's doing that. Being heard is the real challenge now.
Getting heard and then being able to monetize, because like if you get the sheet music, you get it published, you get it copywritten, then somebody wants to use it in a TV show, or they want to use it in a video game, or they want to use it because music can be used like art. My daughter's an artist. She does like logos for seed companies. She does artwork for companies. She's a working, non-starving artist. Mm-hmm. She has work for hire stuff, and then she has stuff that she owns.
Yes.
Right? So she'll do the work for hire to get the sometimes the basic stuff. Doing a seed package, she don't own that. But then she does gallery shows and stuff that's hers.
Yes.
right? And then she has her own stuff, and she registers her work and gets it worked with galleries and gets percentage for stuff. So I mean, working artists, like you got to have a way to get to the gallery. You have a way to get that contract. You know, you've got to get a way to actually have an income stream coming in, so that you're not a starving artist.
That's right. That's right. Our studio does the same exact thing. As a matter of fact, we recently created the theme song for dreadlockjesus.com, which is a merchandise apparel brand. And but yeah, exactly. It if it's always going to be your music, that's fine. And I admire and I love the people that are dedicated to their career. Pamela Jean is an artist who's recorded her last single here in this studio, was nominated for Best New Song of the Year in the Northwest, in a country music industry of the Northwest. And I'm proud of that. But she is one of those persons, she is one of those musicians that is working every day. She books tours across the country. She travels from Oregon to Florida. She's doing gigs. She's pushing her music, promoting her music. And I admire that. So that's one way to do it. You know, there's other ways to do it. I would say at the same time, I would couple, if I was going to say what's the best model for an artist, it would definitely be the model of Pamela Jean, who goes out there and gigs all over the country and performs her own music, combined with a publisher that is out there selling that music to publishing houses in Australia, in Denmark, in Iceland, Switzerland, Japan, you know, wherever. Music is big everywhere. It's a big world now. It doesn't have to just be charted in the United States. I mean, if that's your only goal, go for it.
No, because like I lived in Tokyo for a while, but the idea is like your music is worldwide, right? If you just think it's your local scene, it's like Seattle, that's cool, but it's like it's a worldwide, right? You don't have to just be Sub Pop Seattle. You can be worldwide, right? And I was living in Tokyo, and I saw bands mimicking Kurt Cobain, you know, in the middle of like Shibuya, right? And I was like the Roppongi, and seeing this Japanese band being influenced by Eddie Vedder and Kurt Cobain, and so it's like that. Your influence goes worldwide, right?
Absolutely. And on social media level, you know, there's an artist, Sam Garrett, who's in the Kundalini kind of spiritual yoga sound. And he was performing in Australia, and his social media shows all this concert footage. And I tell you, the Australian crowd looks a lot like the American crowd. I wouldn't know that he was in Australia. No one said anything, you know. And so you get this buzz, and you can start to build a career that doesn't necessarily begin, you know, in your home city or home state or even home country. It doesn't have to anymore. That's the point. It doesn't have to.
Yeah, because like what's important also, you know, to have a booker, like you said, like if you're out there and you're working, like you have to have your masters and everything taken care of, but you also, you know, a lot of times the musicians, I remember reading stories about Huskadoo, you know, they're in their Econoline van going from city to city, and just you had to be, you know, even early REM. They had to go in the van, go from city to city, you know, the Replacements, Paul Westerberg. That was the game. You had to show up. You had to show up in the clubs. You had to be in the trenches, you know, getting your buzz. So you're like, hey, you're a legitimate up and coming, you know, alternative, you know, college radio band.
Right.
I mean, you're showing up in those scenes. You're going to those college campuses. You're playing those small places. You build up the rep. You know, eventually the Replacements got signed by Warner's, because they built a rep.
Yep.
To do the same thing. They were on SST, then boom, they were on Warner's. So it's like you have to kind of have a two-tiered, like you got to be on record, you got to get your sync license, you have to get that, but you also have to get shows.
Yeah, and that's where the label comes in. That's when that old-fashioned label came in. And it's not, I know most artists are upset that, you know, the label owns their masters, and I get it. But it's not that the label did nothing. I'm producing music here in the studio, and I can tell you it's expensive. Not just the DAWs and the subscriptions and the plugins, those things. I mean, those things eat at you $20 and $29 a month, right, kill you. Those I'm always telling my wife, it's not the big expenses, it's all these $29 a
It's
month
all the
subscriptions that are
subscriptions that
killing
kill
me.
you. Yeah.
And then, but not only that, with studio musicians, studio percussionists, violinists, bassists, we have a Nord Stage 4 here, so that does a lot of the work for us, and we can cover those. But it's not, my point was, it's not that the label did nothing. It is expensive to produce an album, and they did that. It's that their only source of revenue was the music itself, and they didn't share that with the artist. Now, I don't have a signing bonus at this studio. I'm not going to give you $1 million, but you don't want $1 million. I promise you, because what the traditional record label would do was give you this $1 million signing bonus, and what the artist doesn't understand is you are now an employee of the label.
Yeah.
And that's called an advance. And if you read the fine print, an advance is anything that they put up front, and they have the right to collect that advance before you get paid. My label's not any different than that. But I'm not going to bury you in $1 million first, right? And then you get back to the court of law. This is well adjudicated many times over. The court of law sees it this way for every independent artist watching. Whoever paid for it owns it.
Yeah,
period.
That's
right?
That's the rub.
I mean, it's always going to come down to that. If you paid for it, you own it. So did you pay that studio percussionist? Did you pay the sound engineer to do all the track engineering? Did you pay the masters? No, your label did, right? And so all of that becomes an advance. And that's why these artists you're seeing more and more are starting to say, I'm not making any money, because what happens is the label owns the masters and the publishing, and the artist collects points, and those points are becoming thinner and thinner because they're spread so far across the label. The label doesn't generate its own revenue other than that of the music. So the artist doesn't own it. They're just getting a slice of it. Real quick, if I might, because I lose people when I say points. And this is an important thing that I like to explain. Let's say this cell phone is your music, and it spits out $100 bill every day. And I own the cell phone, and I say, I will give you 20 points on the cell phone. What that means is you don't own the cell phone, and you don't own 20% of the cell phone. Points means you own 20%, or you own a percentage of the yield of the cell phone. So that means if this thing is spitting out $100 bill every day, and I say, hey, I'm going to give you 20 points, I'm going to give you $20 out of every $100 that comes out. On the face of it, that sounds great. But what the big labels do is they leverage this because they own it, and they sell it to publishing houses, and they trade it. Another thing I like to tell independent artists, before you take that $1 million sign-in bonus, remember that money that you're collecting right now is money that was generated into the label by another artist before you that was signed 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then 5 years from now, that $1 million that you made, they're going to give it to some artist that they're signing to get into the same employee system that you're in. So that's what the record label has become. I kind of feel more of a artist employee system, a 1099 contractor collecting points and not owning anything. And my record contract does a complete 180. The artist owns their masters and their publishing, which is unheard of, and the label collects the points.
Well, I think that's really important because I think a lot of times, people got that advance, and then their next album, right, or a couple albums later, it's like they're not making any money. Right, they're not generating any income, and they're kind of making an assessment. Well, you're not hitting anymore. And it used to be maybe you would survive for 3 albums, 4 albums, and then boom, they drop you. But I don't know what it is today with these guys, but I don't think they're keeping them that long.
It's like your grandpa told you: if somebody's coming up to you and giving you $100 bill, be worried. Okay, there's something wrong here. And the label figured out that the advance was the thing that would save every artist. Oh, finally, I made it. I don't have to be in this bus, driving this van everywhere, but it's a form of entrapment. And I'm not discouraging anybody from it. Just be aware of what it is. With the bonus, the signing bonus, and then the making of the album, you will never, by design, outpay all of that to where you earn what you're supposed to be earning on the music. They'll always be collecting in advance from you.
Yeah, I mean that was the big problem like Prince had.
Oh yeah. Oh, Prince is the
he's the kind of big example where he like he didn't own the masters. There was this expectation that he would somehow sell Purple Rain level album sales. No one ever does that. The Eagles didn't do that, right? Like you have one kind of really big record. Maybe you're lucky if you have two, right? But you're never gonna. And then the contracts always act like you're gonna hit that again. How the heck you ever gonna hit that again? He never really hit that like crazy number again, like 6-8 million. You didn't get it.
Right.
No artist is going to get it, and then they get their contracts get negotiated on the fact that like, somehow you're going to hit that again.
Yeah, and they have you looped in because the contract usually has options, one or two options to it, so the record label says, "Hey, we're going to exercise. We want another album, so another 10 songs, and we want them by the end of July." Okay, well, you come in, you have 8 songs by the end of July, and the record says, "Okay, well, I have 2 songs for you," and you're like, "Well, hey, I don't want to sing anyone else's songs." Well, you're under contract 10 songs, buddy. You got 8.
Yeah.
Where's the other 2 coming from? You see, and so now an artist is singing things they don't want to sing, or they're doing covers because they didn't come up with all the new work, and so the studio says, "All right, we'll go through our publishing house. Here's the cover." And listen, it works out sometimes. Luke Combs did that Tracy Chapman cover. That's just because he's with the same label that owns that publishing at that time, and they looked it up and they're like, "Hey, we have this one. You want to record that one?" Tracy, she made a payday because she's the songwriter on that. Yeah. So she gets publishing money for that. But again, if you don't have all your dots connected and BMI doesn't know who you are and Sound Exchange doesn't know who you are and there's no bank account to send your money to, not your debit card to collect your fees, not that part.
Yeah, you got the
incoming part.
So you get your royalties
right
in from BMI or any of the other pros that you register with.
Exactly.
If you don't do that, then you won't get your check.
Yeah. And so if you're not getting money, this is why.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like people don't want to get into the paperwork because like, well, I'm not an accountant. But if you want to get paid, you better get a little bit of accounting skill set.
Man, you're 100% right. And that's the other part, the crazy part about being an artist. Again, independent artist, if you're listening to me, I'm a producer. My job is to get you finished music. You're an artist. I guarantee you, I don't even have to know you. You have 15 unfinished songs right now, right? Everyone does. I do too. I'm an artist too. And that's what that key point that you were saying. You cannot do it all by yourself. Because if we just leave it to the artist, they're just going to be in their, artsy fartsy thing. I am too, man. 25 hours a week. But I spend another 45 hours a week where we're actually doing things. We have a checklist of music. We take every song, we break down lyrics, bridge, chorus, intro, outros. Where are you at on your songs? When we onboard an artist, the first thing we do is plug in all of their songs and say, where are you at? Okay, you've got 9 unfinished songs, 3 finished songs, 4 of them sound alike. And then we just start working from there, right? Because it's just work. It's nothing that's unattainable. It's just work. Okay, let's come up with some new songs, right? These sound too much alike. Let's change the key. Let's change it up some. And it's just work. And that's what we do. And if you just leave it to an artist, and every artist who's out there, they're probably, little red flags are going up. Oh yeah, that's me. I'm an artist. I don't have a producer. I don't have someone who's kind of kicking me. Hey, you have a photo shoot. Hey, you got to do this.
The thing with a lot of times with artists is like, you have a lot of ideas, and it's like the producer and the recording engineers to help you. Like, unless you're like a master, like a Stevie Wonder or even like a Prince, like actually can put it together and actually do more output than most people. Like,
Prince was a rarity. Yeah, you're speaking of Prince and Stevie, and those are in Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
it's small. That's a small group of people.
People that can actually do that,
right?
We actually put it together and actually create more content, and actually it's high level.
Yeah, the other 99% need a producer kicking them in the butt saying, let's go, we need finished music, we need 10 songs, we need an album.
The bridge, because a lot of times, even in today, like you look at song theory, right? You look at like songs from the 70s, and you can see it. It has the intro, it has the outro, it has a bridge, has another bridge, has like they have structure. A lot
Yeah.
of times you see songs today, it's all groove. It's all looped. And you're like you know, a Beatles song, right? A Todd Rundgren song, a Carpenter song. Look at the way the songs are structured, right? They have a structure of a song, you know. Or even
Yeah.
get the progressive rock, you get to a band like a Genesis or a Yes. They've
Yeah.
got like 10 songs in one song. You know,
If you
but it's like, what are you doing today with some of these kind of things? They're just all it's all loop.
it's true. There was a band I'm sure you remember, Chicago,
Yeah,
in the late '70s, early '80s. I mean, gave you so much music. A song I point a lot of people to is a song called "Tragedy" by the Bee Gees.
yeah. That's
And
a
if
good
you
song.
go listen to that song, this is late '70s, and they have so much music in that song.
Yep.
They have a bass line doing one thing, they have multiple melodies going on, multiple harmonies, and that wasn't uncommon. Now I think
But
that's the
very
point you're making.
yeah, it's so
Back then,
uncommon.
nowadays a producer would say, "Hey, whoa, 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 whoa.
Too much.
Man,
What's going
you
on?
got 200. We got 5 songs in that one song, right?" And they're thinking,
Also, the
hey,
problem I have today is like they on their DAW because they can't sync all those tracks. They weren't like clocked exactly because a lot back then, sometimes they're not going to a click track. Sometimes they're actually hand playing it and it's a little off. If you try to throw it into a DAW, it's not going to track right. Right?
yes,
It's actually a little off. And it actually, to me, when I go back and listen to that 70s, I'm listening to like Hendrix, you know, listening to Electric Ladyland. You can't
yes,
really track that, you know, because it was. I mean, Mitch Mitchell was not a timekeeping drummer,
yes.
or like a. You think about a Keith Moon. Keith
Hmm.
Moon just did solos through the whole damn song, and Entwistle wasn't keeping a beat either. The only guy keeping a beat was Pete.
Yeah,
You know, he's on the chords, playing like a drummer. Like
yeah.
he's actually keeping the time. Like so, it's like a lot of music I like is like that, and so like I try to go in that kind of frame. And I know today that that doesn't work for a lot of people. So like I have my own taste of what I like to do. But like that's not where the world is, but that's where I am. So I just decide that's where I live, that's what I'm gonna do. But you know, that
Well, I think a lot too. What's missing in today's younger artists, and this is just me giving my opinion. I love everybody, okay, but music theory is missing. Music education. I think a lot of the young artists, they put a lot of beats together and they layer a lot of percussion sounds, and then it's just another percussion sound, and then they buy chord progressions. That's another thing we don't do here at the studio. We don't use AI. We don't purchase chord progressions. 100% of the time, we just do not do that. And so a lot of that music theory, a lot of the music education is missing. And so they wouldn't know, where to add a cello or, I mean,
or even to change the voicing, like go
or
into
violin.
a beetle
Absolutely.
chord or
Or
beetle
key,
chord. Like why is a beetle chord a beetle chord? Because
a key change.
the
Yeah,
key
that's
change
another
your
thing. You
voice.
never see key changes. I mean, I think the Backstreet Boys are the last group I heard do key changes,
Yeah.
or whatever group Justin Timberlake was in. But yeah, that
Tempo
doesn't
changes.
happen anymore,
Even tempo change. I mean, it's
Tempo changes.
like a lot of songs would
Yeah.
start off the intro, totally different beat, totally different time. Then get to the chorus, it has a different time signature.
Yeah.
Get back to it different multiple time signatures within songs.
You know who's doing that is independent artists.
Yeah,
And so I think what we're saying is, I think a lot of your viewers will be like, well, hey, we're doing that over here. But what we're saying is what's being fed to the public
it's not that.
is just cookie cutter Mickey Mouse stuff. It's
Well,
just,
it happens when
no
you get an
offense to Mickey
actuary.
Mouse.
If you get an actuary, a guy that was working for an insurance company, and they're running what they want, they just wanted something like, well, this gets a billion views or billion listens, so we need to keep on replicating this. And there's always been a tendency to try to replicate whatever was hidden. Except the back in the day is like, well, you got like the Beatles, creating Badfinger. Well, Badfinger is like better than a lot of stuff today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's like what is the difference? It's like that clone was actually a good clone.
Yeah. So I think those are the two key differences is one, the musicality, the education behind what young artists are producing based on what they know in music theory, and then the other one is the plain and simple work, just the work, the vocal lessons, the exercises, the practicing your guitar, the practicing the drums, the practicing your piano, learning something, getting out
Oh,
of your home
absolutely.
studio and playing with some other musicians, doing some open mic stuff, going and seeing some other, talking to your uncle about that guitar that he plays. Maybe you can play it, you know.
Yeah, I think
That's what
that's
we
another
promote
thing
here.
is I was talking to some musicians and it's like if you go in a studio and you actually have to track a song in a studio versus you've never been in a studio. And this is something I saw some music show I was watching some guy talking about how some of the younger musicians today they don't know if they were they would go went to Olympic or went to Electric Lady, they wouldn't know how to even track. They wouldn't know how to even do it because they don't do it.
Nope. Yeah, there's no sub tracks, there's no ghost tracks, no click tracks. It's all good, you know. I mean, it's here's the thing. I think good music is still good music. People hear good music, they know it.
Mhm.
I think it's really great if you can perform your good music, and I say that because I have seen independent artists at open mics do perform their music. It's what I do. I go around looking for independent artists. So that's
Yeah,
all I do.
you are looking
We're
for.
Las Vegas based, but we're in Hawaii a lot. We're in California. We're in North Carolina. We're in Florida. We travel a lot. So we're always looking for independent artists. What I see a lot of times too is they sound really great when I download their music or I listen to them on Spotify. But when you get up on stage,
They don't have it.
you can't replicate it either instrumentation or vocally.
They
We
don't
can
have
see
it.
that there was a lot of editing there, you know, and so if I would say if you're an independent artist who's out there gigging, who's worked on your voice, who worked on your craft, and you realize I need publishing, I need my work scored, we need to get our creative work copyrights. Then yeah, I would say, you know, contact me. I can help you. That's what we do at this studio. And the artist, and if you record here, your artist always owns their masters and their publishing.
I think that's awesome because I think the biggest, the issue I've always found a lot of really cool independent bands, doing this podcast since 2016, and I've always tried to gravitate to what is in kind of the underground or in the indie area because I was always a college radio guy. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I like to hear, not what's in the top 10, top 50. I would listen to like the bottom 500.
Yeah.
That's like where everything's happening for me.
Yeah.
Because I was a kid, I was listening to the Talking Heads before anybody even liked them. You know, I was listening, with Camper Van Beethoven. I'm listening to, like, um, that was like something when it came out. I thought they were fantastic. Nobody else. I thought they were. Everybody's like, "What the heck is that?" And I'm
Yeah. And it's usually genre based. You know, I'm the same way. I used to direct message with the stick figure on Instagram and we would chat about their older records. That was 5 years ago. I haven't been able to chat with them in at least 2 years. So, you know, they're big now. You know, now it's their fan base president. And now they're just blowing up to be one of the biggest bands in America. And God bless them. Good for them. That's what should happen.
yeah, we
And
really need people like yourself to build up these indie bands again. And
and that's
yeah, that's what we need.
thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's what I feel our role is. God willing, we'll always represent independent artists. I had an artist ask me the other day, he's like, well, don't you want to be a big label someday? I want to be a big label with independent artists. I would rather grow you, you know, make you nice and fancy, prop you up, get you scooped up by a big label, and then 3 years from now, you say, Don, there's this kid I listened to in South Dakota. You got to listen to him. I gave him your number. He's gonna call you. It's the real deal. And then I work with that person. You know, I
Yeah,
feel
the
just
pipeline.
on my, you know, at my age with my skill set, and just my entrepreneurial background. I'm a 20-year entrepreneur. This is my passion. It's the first time I've put those skills into my passion. And yeah, that's what feels good to me. So like I said, God willing, I'll just be here representing independent artists and pumping them out, to the real world.
Because I think what we need is we need people that love music to make music. Because sometimes I feel like I'm wondering when I listen to certain things, like, is this somebody that really loves music?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they trying to sell another widget?
Yeah.
I get the feeling they're trying to sell the widget.
They're selling the widget, man. And that's why Nashville and these other big labels are going to AI. Why? Because they have fed us cereal for breakfast. And now we like cereal. We're like the child who doesn't want to have anything else but cereal. Mm-hmm. And so they've got to turn to AI and say, we need more cereal. Yeah. And instead, I would just like to say, there's artists all over the place.
Yeah.
We're not selling cereal. We're baking eggs and, hash browns over here. Give us a shot.
It's passion. I grew up, I was the kind of guy that was listening to Big Star. Like I'm listening to Alex Chilton and I'm listening to the Velvets, right? Mm-hmm. I'm listening to Velvet Underground. And I'm like, I like to find these kind of unsung bands.
Yeah, me too.
Kind of like the Replacements, like Who's to Do. Like Who's to Do is kind of pre-grunge.
Mm-hmm.
There's kind of like the same vibe way before.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, to me, I was like, I just thought they were fantastic. I'm a kid and I'm going and buying everything that they're doing on SST. I'm going crazy. Bob Mode, Grant Hart, those guys are like, that's it. That's real punk. They're like, to me, they were like what Joe Strummer was doing in London. Mm-hmm. These guys were really kicking it. These guys were like, they're passionate. They're sitting there doing Land Speed Records, Zen Arcade, and like recording that record like in a warehouse in 2 days. Everything for a second take. But it was the passion of it. The same kind of passion that Joe Strummer had. That's what Westerberg had, like on Let It Be. Or Tim. That's the kind of the vibe. I'm always looking like, where's another guy that's like a Westerberg? Where's another guy that's like Bob Mould?
You couldn't be more right. I share your sentiments 100% because I am not interested in an artist that has one or two songs. I am not interested in an artist that is like, I wrote this song. I think it'd be a really great song. I have a singles contract. We'll do, like I said, my label produces albums, 10-track albums for artists. Mm-hmm. But I have a singles contract I'll send you for a flat fee. You want to come in here and record a single, but that's not my jam here. I'm looking for exactly what you said. Someone who's passionate about their music, who wants to play their music, who's not afraid to get on the road and play their music, who's not afraid to come in the studio and sound bad 100 times before we get a composite track and then build a demo and then put the master together. These are all steps. It's like I said, it's the work, and we keep hitting on the two things, and that part is the work of it.
Yeah, I mean, because like I got into a lot of these like female singer-songwriters like Liz Phair, Juliana Hatfield, L7. I like that vibe. I like to me, I really listen to Liz Phair all day before I listen to somebody that's in the top 10, because like she's coming from like, she's a singer-songwriter, very passionate about what she's doing, right? And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the person that's going to be there and really want to execute their vision. And they're kind of like a Dylan's, like, hey, my voice might not be pitch perfect, but I can actually find my voice.
Yeah.
And I can find it and say, like, yeah, Liz found her voice. It's not Madonna's. It's not, it's not like any like what some people would say, well, that's the great female voice, but it's still a great female voice.
Absolutely.
It's a different attitude.
It's what they made a capo for. It's fine. We'll adjust your voice. You're right. Be authentic. What I can't recreate is your authenticity as an artist, Yeah, you're 100% right. I agree with you. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. We're looking for artists that are passionate like that are willing to, put an album together, work at it, produce it. I'm not giving out sign-in bonuses here. Everybody in the studio works for it. As a label, We create our own content, and that's how we generate our revenue. So we're all a big family here, and I'm looking for artists to showcase that family, you know. So that's what we're out here doing. And if you're already on the road and you're already doing your thing, and you've already got 3 or 4 albums out, and you're like, hey, you know, Don, I need some publishing. I have a publishing only contract as well, and we will gladly represent you. And that's one of the things that you mentioned. Artists, be you, do your thing. Let me be me. Let us call the publishing houses all over the place and send the emails out every day. We have this single coming out from this artist, you know, and we have this release coming out and another album. And can you get, you know, are you interested in their catalog? That's what this end does. And a lot of times, you hit it in the very beginning of the podcast, artists have a job as well. So it is quite impossible to be the artist, write the music, hold down a job because the music doesn't pay that great yet, and do all this publishing work and try and find sync and license agreements. Who's got time for that? Not only that, because I tell you, the one thing I missed in there is social media content creator, because now every artist has to be that too.
Yeah, you gotta know your SEO. You gotta know.
I promise you. I'm not doing.
The algorithm is changing all the time, and you got to be an expert.
Yeah,
SEO and.
If anything, my website sucks and my social media is not that great because I'm in the studio working on music. I'm so buried in albums right now, which is great. So let's do it. You know, if you're willing to work and ignore that stuff, I understand. I'm a music producer and a publisher here. You know, let us put some production together. Let us get you registered with the PROs, with Sound Exchange. Let us start contacting distributors for you, and start putting your music out there. Let's land it in a documentary. Land it. I mean, here's the thing. I know I'm long-winded. I sound like a broken record. But one other thing that independent artists forget as well, those big corporate media juggernauts, ABC, you know, Netflix, Amazon, I don't know all of them, Fox, you know, 20th of Warner Brothers, they are fighting harder than you and I are to get viewers. And if you can set your ego aside long enough to say, okay, they've got the big bucks, you know, Disney, YouTube, they've got the big bucks. And if you can just say, you know what, we'll let you create the content and you'll just pay me to throw you some music, that pays well too. Yeah. And let them fight it out among who's getting viewership. They need music for everything. There's nothing that needs music. If you just watch any type of media content that is produced by the big executives, nothing is silence. You hardly ever hear just blank silence. It just never happens. You don't realize it because it's so natural. Music has become so natural in the background, but it's there and you can get paid for it. So I'll help you.
That's where it's super important to get. You know, if you got to know what, like, your limitations, like you got to know what you don't know. And as an artist, like, we don't know business a lot of times. Like,
yeah, I promise.
Most of the time, it's like, cause like most of the time. So it's like, if you can get into a business relationship that's going to be advantageous, like what you're proposing, what you're talking about, is kind of where the indie scene. This is like this indie scene that I've been, you know, I've always wanted to hear more from people pitching what you're pitching, because I was like, is anybody pitching this kind of stuff anymore? And then I saw you doing it and I was like, yeah, this is cool. Let's get them on the show, because there was a time, you know, back in the day, there was a lot of little labels, you know, and there was a lot of energy in the college radio coming from these smaller labels is like where the energy was. And I wanted to go back to that and, you know, wish you like the most success and what you're doing, because I think it's super important to give the new generation of musicians this new vision, so we don't have people just check out and say, I can't even do this because there's no market, and then find out there is a market, you just didn't know how to get to it.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to come on. I appreciate you letting me talk about my label and our music and what I'm doing over here just outside of Las Vegas. If you can get to Las Vegas, I'll produce you. So send me audition. So yeah, if you're an independent artist looking to to sign with the label and navigate through that process where you have the highest likelihood of collected money from your music, then you can contact me at Don, that's DON, at I&I Music.studio. That's IANDI Music.studio. And we'll talk about, what we can do. Also, if you want that publishing agreement only, and say, hey, you know what? I want to do the publishing thing. I've got music already, and I've got my sound recording copyrights already. I'm good there, but I don't have any publishing representation. All right, let's get your music. Let me get it scored. We work with an outfit out of New York where we score everybody's music. We get it into sheet music. We record our creative work publishing copyright. And then we start getting you out to distribution houses. We make those phone calls, send those emails and stuff like that. That's the stuff that most artists, 99.9% just aren't doing. I think there's a belief somewhere that came along that if we upload our music, it's going to get 10 million downloads. And that's just not true. And not everybody has to be a big, huge performer. So that's what I'm looking for. I'll be honest with you. But at the same time, you can just be a songwriter and let me represent your publishing for you as well. Because just last week, I saw an Instagram post or some social media post where this black guy who is a songwriter was doing an interview, and he was crying because he was on EBT card and he had written a Chris Brown song. You know what video I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I heard about that. Yeah.
That's publishing right there. He wrote that song. Man, people today, right now, are making money off of his music right now.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is publishing houses trade catalogs all the time. If you've ever noticed on Netflix where it says this movie is about to end this month, and then next month, Hulu has it.
Yeah, somebody else got it.
Yeah, that's just because Underpants Worldwide sold it to, Distribution Inc. worldwide, and that artist, every artist in that catalog that was purchased made money. That guy in the video, he didn't, because he didn't have it registered. He wasn't registered with the PRO. He wasn't put on there as the songwriter for whatever song he wrote for Chris Brown. Forgive me, I don't know what he wrote, but that is a sad story, and that is happening every day. And people right now are making money, and this guy's on EBT. That's sad, man. Don't let that be you.
Yeah, shadow writers. It's in hip hop a lot, but there's also all forms where there's a lot of guys that are shadow producers and they don't get the credit. And then if they didn't work it out behind the scenes, they're not getting the money either.
Yeah, I wish I had paperwork right here. I'd hold up my split sheet. This is a split sheet. As a split sheet, and that's what dictates everyone who had a hand in putting that song together. And if you didn't sign your name at the bottom of a split sheet, you're not on that record, man. I promise you.
You're not getting the split.
No, sir, you're not getting the split, man. Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So these are all the little things that I've kind of navigated throughout the last 2 years putting the studio together, and the last year I've spent the majority of the last year putting all of our legal paperwork together, contracts and whatnot. Like I said, I'm a 20-year entrepreneur, so I know the business side of things very well. So we're ready to roll.
Well, I want to let people know we got your QR code up there. It actually ties to your YouTube.
Thank you.
So if people scan that, I've been saying that the whole time. But if they
yes.
take their phone and scan it, they go right to your YouTube, and people can DM you on your YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sending everyone to YouTube because I'll be honest, man, I'm just buried. We opened the doors. I got a Kundalini yoga album right out of the gate, and then I got 2 albums of Christian mantras right out of the gate. I'm a very spiritual guy. We like gospel, reggae, spiritual, country, Latin. Those are our genres. So I got buried right away. So what I'm doing is I'm sending everyone to our YouTube channel, because beginning in January, we're going to be live streaming everyone's journey through here. The live stream episodes will be called the I&I Music Journey. So we'll be documenting kind of like a reality show, but not drama based. This is documenting what I keep saying over and over again, the work, what it really takes to be a successful independent artist. You would be surprised. I've worked with them already in this studio. It's not that lottery winning ticket where, I got this song and now I'm a millionaire. That's, I'm not saying that can't happen, but
you do the work,
yeah, that's rare. Yeah.
Yeah, I've loved playing. I've been playing since I was 17. I just like, I
Hmm.
like to play with my Moogs. I like to play with sound. I'm more like a sound designer. I like to play, and it's because I just love to do it, and so I was
Hmm.
gonna do it regardless. And
Yeah.
I knew a lot of guys that they put their instrument down because they couldn't find a way to get to the path of where they wanted to be. But you just if you find an individual like yourself, it's like, hey, maybe this is the path. So check it out, scan the QR code, get in touch. And if you got a lot of stuff sitting on the shelf and you didn't know what to do with it, yeah, maybe this is the best thing instead of uploading it into the ether. Go check it out.
Yeah, get under a label. You're going to exponentially improve your chances of being heard. And in today's music industry, that is a challenge, being heard. Making music is the easy part now. And guys at my age, your age, we're all bummed. We're like, now everyone's making music. Everyone has a studio in their closet. You know what I mean? Crying
Yeah,
out loud.
yeah, it's hard. It's like 6 years ago. It's like 10 years ago. It's like, oh,
Oh yeah.
now
Well,
everybody's doing it. It's like, oh, it's oversaturation. But I want to thank
yeah.
you for being here.
Thank
Again,
you.
scan it. This was live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick. We will push it to Spotify video podcast, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Newsly by tomorrow. We create a landing page. We use some AI tools. The AI tools, if you're on Instagram, we'll tag you if you're not. But we put them up on YouTube Shorts and Facebook Reels as well. But thank you.
Thank you. I really love your setup. I'm super impressed. This is the most professional, best looking podcast I've been on. I need to get with you. I'm going to message you off to the side to show me some of these secrets, man. I'm so far behind. Again, I'm a producer engineer. I'm right here, Pro Tools. That's what I'm doing every day. And everyone's like, I want to record. Okay, let's set up a session. All right, we got a recording session. Now I'm back to work. And so I'm usually, all the really cool stuff is a little bit over my head. So.
All right, cool. But yeah, that's fine. Talk to you later.
Thank you, Phantom. Have a great day. God bless you.
Bye.